All right, we're in chapter 9 of the book, New Testament Greek, teaching Greek using the computer. And in chapter 9, we deal with pronouns. Of course, pronouns we're all quite familiar with. And, well, we mostly know them as being the personal pronouns. Personal pronouns are pronouns that take place of a person. Myself, or maybe the one I'm talking to, you, or maybe somebody we're talking about, he, she, or it. And so we have personal pronouns. But some of the other pronouns are used in the translating the Greek. Relative pronouns. A relative pronoun introduces a subordinate clause. And the reason we use them is because we want to give more information about something we just mentioned. If we say that we went to the city where they, have the museum. See, the where there is a relative pronoun. It's going to say something more about that city that would distinguish it. And so, for unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. You see, so you'll find relative pronouns. And of course, if you stay in chapter 9 when you're doing your translating, anything that you don't understand just by the top of your memory, you can always check back and find out what's going on. We also have demonstrative pronouns, and it draws attention to something that is happening or something you can describe. We have a verse like in Luke 2:12 says, "And this shall be a sign unto you." Well, this is the relative or demonstrative pronoun. And so what is the sign? Well, here it is. It's in the verse. You shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And so that whole scenario of where you're going to find this baby and how he's going to be wrapped and where he's going to be lying, that whole scenario is what this is talking about. This shall be a sign to you. So that's a demonstrative pronoun. Interrogative pronouns. Usually they're WH words like who, what, when, where, why. And so those pronouns are used when you're wanting to introduce a noun or person or place or something. And so you introduce it by kind of putting it as a question. Who will be the next president? Well, we'll find out when we vote. Or what shall we say then? And then we have to figure out what is. And so it poses a question, an interrogative pronoun. We have other pronouns not used as much. One of the ones most used in translating is a possessive pronoun. And a possessive pronoun is considered to be a genitive. Genitives usually show ownership. And so if you say something about a book and you say that's my book, so say that's a possessive pronoun. Who owns that book? I do. If you just treated it like a genitive with an of in front of it, you might say that's a book of mine, but that's a little awkward. So we use the possessive pronoun in that case, and we say it's my book. What else do we have here? Reflexive pronouns. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. You're reflecting back on the subject of the sentence. And reciprocal pronouns, that's where it's talking about somebody that's the opposite. You'll love one another. You won't just love yourself. You'll love somebody else, one another. That's a reciprocal pronoun. And so we have other pronouns there, but as you run into them, if there's any question, then flip your book open and learn more. Learning how to translate Greek is all about learning, let me tell you. You have to experience it, you have to do the work, and as you do, you'll find that you'll understand every bit more. In fact, the latter half of this course, in fact, probably most of the course, will be the actual translation of verses. And I'll carry you through verses. And we'll learn as we go a lot of the art and talent of skill of doing the translation work. Let me also touch on Greek prepositions right now. If you'll turn to chapter 11 in your book on Greek prepositions, we have, you learned back in English the prepositional phrases. Well, and you always had to have a preposition, and then there was the object of the preposition. So he said that was the time of the year, when we celebrate Christmas. So, of the year is kind of a prepositional phrase. And so we learned those back when we were learning our English back in school. But prepositions are used with all the datives and the genitives. Of course, the genitives is the possessive modifier. Let's say it's what anytime we have a genitive, like I said in the possessive pronouns, my book. But if it's the genitive understanding it is that it's the book of mine. That's who owns the book. It's mine. The city of Jerusalem. What city? Well, it's Jerusalem, you see. Or the day of the week. Well, what day? It's within the day of the week. So we're talking one of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You see, it's one of those days. And so it's who owns that day, or who owns that city, or who owns that book. So that's possessive. That's always considered to be the genitive case. And so you'll run into genitives. We've talked about those already. But in the case of those, quite often we put an of for a preposition. Or we can say from. He is the man from New York. So there are some of the prepositions are handy to use with the genitive case. Now the dative cases, that's just about all the other information you're going to be giving about that action of the sentence. The man kicked the ball, and then you want to put more information in there. Well, you can put it in with datives, and we've talked about datives, but the preposition is the key there. To center field, over the fence. You see, all those prepositions that you could put in that would bring more information are all prepositions that will be used with the datives cases. There's quite a list of datives in chapter 11. But when we get down to the actual translating, we'll have suggestions coming from the lexicographers. So we'll stay within the realm of what he's given us. And that's probably all I'm going to say right now about prepositions. Conjunctions, Greek conjunctions. Of course, you know what a conjunction is. That attaches two things together on somewhat equal terms. They went to the field and then to the woods, so that we put an and in there. We want the field to be one place where they went hiking, and then they went to the woods, so we add the word and in there. There's a lot of Greek conjunctions, and when we run into them, they will have in their definitions, they'll have what that relationship is between the two things. It might be and, it might be but, it could be for, or any number of conjunctions. The Greek articles we have when we have an article in Greek, it's the definite article and the. And what that word does is it demonstrates that this is a certain thing. When he went to the temple, when he went to the temple, then you understand this isn't just some temple to some god. This is the temple Jesus was going to. That was in Jerusalem. Or he went to the tree to take a nap. Well, there's a certain tree he went to. And so the definite article means that the thing that it is modifying is a very special thing. And so you can say, a person waved at me. Well, you're not going to identify that person. It was somebody in the crowd. But the person that waved to me was John, you see. So you have to identify him when you give him as a definite. So definite articles come in. A lot of times you'll put an A in front of a noun if it's not a definite thing. But you'll be given the definite article in the Greek if they're going to make it a definite thing. All right, we're going to stop there.